Together at this beautiful ballpark and watch the hometown nine. Brandon Hyde, the Orioles will play on. They will head home today and get ready to host a wild card series beginning Tuesday, either against Kansas City or Detroit. And many of his stars did not play yesterday, but those that did not are playing today, including Gunnar Henderson. The Baltimore lineup morning is brought to you by Menards.
Yeah, you get guys getting ready for the playoffs, a completely different mindset than they have in the other dugout. And you're trying to go out there, whether we'll see them for 2 at-bats today, how long these guys will go into this game, but you don't want to have too long of a layoff. You don't want to lose your timing. If there's guys that are banged up, maybe they'll get out there a little bit quicker, but also don't have the 40-man roster like you used to, so some guys are going to have to play this whole game, and they are going to face on the other side Bailey Over, your home furniture starting pitcher stats. What a season he has had for a guy who dealt with a ton of injuries early in his career in the minor leagues. Staying on the field was a challenge, and now look where he's at, making his 31st start of the year. The numbers on the season absolutely tremendous. A lot he can be proud of, and he wants to finish with a good one here. And I know it doesn't matter that much, but hopefully keep that ERA under 4, sitting at 3.94 coming in. So I know it's not a stat that everyone pays too much attention to anymore, but it does go on the back of the card and follows you forever.
Yeah, Over has set career highs in just about every category: starts, innings, strikeouts. It's been a wonderful year, and facing a good lineup today, including this guy, Gunnar Henderson, one of the best players in the game. The Rookie of the Year last year in the American League. He's an all-star, and he can do it all. Speed, power. Good defender at short. 1-2 to Henderson. And this one poked to left field, and that will hang up and caught in left by Austin Martin. And Henderson is out number 1 to begin play here today. We see Martin and the Twins defensively, as always, brought to you by Ford. Deshaun Kersey Jr. in center. Manuel Margot is in right around the infield. Lewis and Lee, Farmer, Santana, and Christian Vasquez behind the plate in the season finale.
Yeah, maybe next year when you show that graphic, there'll be a little picture of a gold glove next to Carlos Santana's name.
He deserves it. Jordan Westburg, when the Orioles recently got back off the injured list, he could play third, can play second. 18 home runs, 61 knocked in, as a breaking ball from Ober evens up the count.
Just before we go too far, wish my wife a happy birthday.
Ooh, glad you got that in. Last day of the season. That's
well, she'll be running kids around all day on her birthday, so while she still maybe is watching, I'll say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm definitely not going to say how old she is.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, she'll always be younger than me.
There you go.
Until she's not.
2-2 on Westburg with Adley Rutschman on deck. Rutschman DHing. And that one pops away from Vasquez, and Westburg still battling with a 2-2 count. Westburg was out for a while due to a fractured bone in his right hand. It happened in late July, right after the trade deadline. It returned on September 22nd. Now the changeup there from Ober, and that has been a really good pitch for Bailey all year. And the shadows that right now are swallowing up the Twins' dugout first base line, they will be a factor as the game moves along here in a bit. In the air to right, this will send Margot back, and Margot near those shadows. And the warning track, he grabs it for out number 2.
This is so hard as a player. You want to win every game you play in, of course. Doesn't matter where you're at playoff wise, you're a competitor, but the letdown of the last, you can say the last 6-7 days where you felt like you were still alive, you still had a chance, even though the odds were starting to fall out of your favor. But the focus today, it's got to be there.
To right center, off the bat of Rutschman, and Kersey has good speed, and he closes in to make the play. Good start for Bailey, a 1-2-3 first inning. I'm here today. Twins president of baseball operations, Derek Falvey, telling members of the media not too long ago that Rocco will indeed be back to manage this club in 2025. We'll talk much more about that as the game moves along here today. First, the Twins lineup, which is brought to you by Menards.
Yeah, you got a few of the younger guys in there. You got Julian in the leadoff spot where we saw him frequently early in the season. You got some rookies who got their first taste to the big leagues, getting to play the last game of the year.
And a strike on Eddie Julian. Fastball at 95. Right-hander on the mound today for the Orioles is Albert Suarez.
A good story of him coming back to the big leagues after 7 years. Pitched in Korea last year. Moved back into the rotation middle of August. Got a dependable arm for him. He's going to sit in the mid-90s with that fastball. With your home furniture starting pitcher stats. Good cutter, a changeup, and a curveball as well. Sorry.
Warnia, he basically took the everyday rotation spot for Grayson Rodriguez the last couple of months of the year and has filled in admirably. So much so that not so much this first wild card series for Baltimore, but should they advance into a longer series, Brandon Hyde, he may look to Suarez not just as a bullpen piece, but maybe even as a starter.
You know what? I would really like to see the series be, all of them be 7 games. The hottest team won't matter as much. It's the depth that will play over the course of a longer series. It's I don't know. You get in and I mean, obviously didn't have a whole ton of playoff success in my career. We got there enough times, but never made that long run. But you know, anything can happen in a short series. And all of a sudden you get a little momentum. I think the longer series, it's such a long fight to get there. To have it end in 2 games never made much sense to me, but maybe that's because I grew up watching hockey and it was always 7.
And Julian strikes out on a breaking ball, and there's 1 out. Could you possibly have that kind of playoff and postseason format coinciding with a 162-game season?
No, and I think that's the challenge of removing revenue from regular season games, guaranteed amount of games that you can play. You kind of build your rosters around that. So I think you would have to reduce the season, whether you started a week later and ended a week earlier, or however you get there. I just think the playoff atmosphere is so fantastic. We saw it last year. Obviously, we're going to miss it this year. But just being in that environment and going through that grind and having the, you know, those battles that you go through, and then you have these sometimes unlikely postseason heroes come up, and you know, City gets behind them. I think when you fight this long to get in, to have it end that quickly, it almost feels like you were barely there at all. And I think it's a something, maybe expansion in the future, realignment, all the different things that might happen.
Ripped to left down the line, and that's a fair ball. Nice swing here from Austin Martin, pulling that fastball into the left field corner for a 1-out double.
You always want to, no matter how your season goes, you'd love to go into the offseason with a decent feeling after winning a ball game, shaking hands for one last time, and a little something positive to take with you heading into the winter. This is positive here. Able to pull the hands in, throw that ball. Nice little double. Opportunity for Brooks Lee, hitting 3rd today, playing shortstop.
18th double for Martin. Now the switch hitting. Former first-round pick Brooks Lee. As Suarez misses high. What do you hope that Lee takes away from his first taste of big league ball?
Well, I think there is a lot. I mean, he learned a ton about preparation, about a long season, about facing the best in the world every single day.
At the end of the bat, this is popped up to short, and Gunnar Henderson puts it away for out number 2. And Lee has had some great moments here in the second half, including this one the other night against Miami. Tied the game up late with a 2-run double.
It was a game they absolutely had to have, and you get to feel that adrenaline of playing in a pennant chase. There's something about it that you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about dealing with adrenaline. And I think with him dealing with injury at the start of the year, his minor league season, some missed development time. But he got a taste of the big leagues, and once you come up here, once you spend time in the minor leagues, once you spend time in the big leagues, you know it's the only place you want to be. And early in your career, you know, throughout your career, but early in your career, you find out what you need to do and what you're willing to do and how much you're willing to sacrifice in the winter to get yourself back up here. And then when you get up here, you find a way to stay. And I think there's lessons for everybody, obviously, each year. But the first time you get a taste of it, and the first time you go through that failure.
And Lewis pops it up on the infield. And that is hauled in by Westberg. And the Twins get a double.
Return in 2025 as the manager of the Minnesota Twins. President of baseball operations Derek Falvey simply said, Rocco is my manager. He did acknowledge the sleepless nights, the gutted feeling that both of them have shared here over the last couple of weeks. But he said, I believe in Rocco's process. I believe in him, and I believe in the partnership that we have had. As for Rocco Baldelli, he spent a lot of time this morning talking about the future and acknowledging that, yes, there are things that he can do better, and there's things that he can certainly learn from in this go-around that he will put to use now that we know he'll be back next season, guys.
Audra, thanks. Yeah, we were privy to what turned out to be a very emotional sit-down with Derek Falvey, the president of baseball operations, about 90 minutes ago. And Derek spoke candidly about not just Rocco, but about the season. And he fought back tears throughout his press conference as Ryan Mountcastle laces a base hit to center, and the Orioles have a man on. And as we said at the top of the telecast, and Derek even mentioned, he used the word embarrassment with how this season ended. And the last 6 weeks, he said, it's unacceptable. He said, I apologize to the Pohlad family, and I said I apologize especially to the Twins fans for, as he said, I did not do my job, and we have to make some changes. He did not elaborate too much beyond that, but what I took away from that, and many things, you know, Morty, during that sit down with Derek, is that the Twins are going to be open-minded about what happened here at the end, and not just going to say, okay, some bad luck, let's just run it back the same way and hope for a better result.
Yeah, I think every year you look back and see what you could have done better, but in a year like this where the expectations were high.
And O'Hearn, Ryan O'Hearn with the base hit to right. That'll send Mountcastle to second.
The expectations were there. The opportunity was there. They were in a playoff spot for the majority of the season. And I think there's, you know, you're going to look for answers. You're going to look for answers and everywhere you can find them. I think it's ever evolving in this game. We see it. You know, a team will have a great year. They'll do something a little bit different. And then you'll see other teams kind of, okay, what did they do? How can we adapt that into our game plan, into our players, and into our approach? And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to look at it, and you know, when you're in the middle of it, I think Rocco, the other thing he said, obviously they've been trying to find answers for the last 6 weeks of what's been going on, trying to find ways to get out of this, trying to find ways need to do it, and he said he wasn't really in looking back mode because there was still a belief that even coming into this series, they were still alive. So still trying to figure out how to win today and turn this thing around and get into the playoffs. And so the looking back obviously hadn't really started. When you're in the middle of it, you're just trying to find your way out of the woods. And once you get out, then you take a look back at the path you took and how you got there. And I think that's what they're going to spend a lot of the next couple of weeks doing.
Cedric Mullins lofts the 0-2 pitch foul. As this at bat continues, Baltimore 2 on 1 out, no score.
But it was interesting to see Derek so emotional, and you know, brought me back to the exact thing that he said was what I said after we lost game 163 in Chicago. I was sitting there with Mike Redmond bawling my eyes out, crying, just saying I felt like I let everybody down. And I think that's the feeling that he had, you know, when he sat down with us and just said, you know, just feel like you let everybody down when you come off of the year they had last year with the playoffs and breaking that, you know, 20-year, you know, jinx, failure, whatever you want to call it. You're coming off of that, and you're coming in and you're hoping to take the next step forward, which is getting to the ALCS or the World Series or whatever it is, and you fall short of that expectations. You feel like you let a lot of people down that supported you.
Like the at bat continuing between Ober and Mullins. Something else he mentioned too, that he hopes that this eats at everybody inside that dugout in the front office for a long time. That if guys are over this in a day or two, then something's wrong. Yeah. Even a month from now, then something's off.
I will 100% agree with that. If you're over this by tomorrow, then you probably gave up about 10 days ago. If this isn't with you for at least a month, but even for me, it's almost like when the calendar turned and you hit January and spring training was starting to approach and Twins Fest is on the calendar and you have all these things for next year coming.
The second for one. The return throw from Lee is not in time, as Mullins is safe. Mountcastle to third. The Twins do get the force on O'Hearn, so 2 down.
Yeah, I think you take a little bit of time off. You need as much of a mental break as you do a physical break. At least I did when the season ended, and then you start getting back at it and you get into the training and you remember that feeling of bitterness. I think Kyle Farmer said it great. He said it's not bittersweet, it's just bitter. And I think that bitterness stays with you for a while, especially if you're someone who truly cares about, you know, doing your job and representing the city or the team you play for. And I think all these guys take a tremendous amount of pride in putting that Twins uniform on. I don't think anybody takes it for granted, but yeah, it will stay with you.
Check swing and a strike on Ramon Urias. Baltimore getting healthy at the right time. Urias a key part on this Orioles team. He'd been out with a right ankle injury for a bit of time here in the second half. He just came back within the last week or so, and this one hit in the air to left, but room for Martin drifting and will make the catch on the warning track. And the Orioles contributions on and off the field. Vote right now at MLB.com/Clemente Award. I had the privilege last night calling the Twins Orioles game on Fox with Adam Wainwright, and he was a recipient of that award in 2020. And he says it's right in my trophy case. I have it displayed proudly. Accomplished a lot, a couple of World Series, an amazing career. But that's as special as any award he's ever received in his life. And that guy right there, all the work he does off the field, is certainly deserving. So vote Pablo, as he should win it. Carlos Santana, speaking of awards, we hope he is the Twins' first Gold Glove winning first baseman since Doug Mankiewicz. He was a finalist last year, Morny, but a great chance to win that award in 2024.
It'd be hard to make a case that anyone's had a better year at first base defensively than he's had. Watching him work, it was a point of emphasis for the Twins, getting better defensively at first base this year. And
Santana smacks one of the air to right field. This one carrying back to the wall and gone. 23rd home run for Carlos Santana, adding to his team lead, and the Twins take a 1-0 lead.
The ageless wonder. What a way to finish it. Nice ovation from the crowd. You weren't sure that he was going to play as much as he did. You weren't sure that with all the talent on this roster that he would be the guy leading the team in home runs and runs driven in. But he's figured it out, and he's had an opportunity, and he's been the most consistent presence in the lineup for the entire season.
I did not think we would say that or see that, and I don't know if I would have felt like, okay, the Twins had a good year if Carlos Santana at the end was going to lead this team in home runs and RBI with the other players around him.
Well, especially after the month of April as well, after the slow start.
As Kyle Farmer lofts it to right center, and Cedric Mullins taking charge and makes the play. Well, there were some moments in the first half when we did smile and we did laugh, and Santana back in late April as the Twins went on this 12-game winning streak. Santana red hot. During this run, we saw the swing, the power, and we saw the meat as the rally sausage really debuted on the prior homestand, but it came to life in a big way on that road trip in Anaheim and in Chicago, and Santana was a big part of it. Yeah, there it is, and we thought it was gone, but it came back earlier this month.
It is amazing in the course of a 162-game season, plus all the time you spend together down in spring training, the little things that you come up with to rally around or to distract you from the monotony of the season sometimes. Something that just brings everybody together. When those things happen organically, they're that much more special. You've got different celebrations. Twins had the Fedora and the Prince Jacket, and Blue Jays, they had in the past their jacket with all the countries represented. Everyone kind of having a little bit of something different. And I think when it comes about in the way that it did this year, it means something special.
Vasquez bounces it back to Suarez, and the inning is over. But Carlos Santana playing that sweet music here. Game 162. Look at that pose inside the dugout. 1-0 at Target Field. From Carlos Santana. And now the Orioles bat in the third, and James McCann catching today. Bat goes flying off the net and lands near his own dugout. Can you imagine if that bat landed in the dugout and just knocked there was somebody in the head? That was close.
It was a close call. Just two hands over the head and just trusting. Yeah, 2 days ago, took one off the leg. Rivera, but yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, maybe we'll get him some.
Okay, all right. James, this is not your first day. You're back at the ballpark where your first home run, and it was an inside the park home run with the Tigers a long time ago. I watched some of the guys scatter. They're like, I'm out.
Yeah, they weren't taking their chances twice of the old ricochet.
Here's the 0-2, and it's high. So when this at-bat began, there were many Baltimore players that were closer towards the on-deck circle, but now they have scattered towards the opposite end, way back there. So the helmet nearly came off. The bat stayed in the hands, and Ober picks up his first strikeout, and McCann is out number one.
They're probably just happy he held on to the bat on that one. This is the difference maker, though, that he's developed this year, is that changeup. And as the shadows come in, that pitch is going to be even harder for these hitters to see.
Most strikeouts via a changeup, second most to the Phillies. Christopher Sanchez. Ooh, Bailey.
It'll be a pitch clock violation. That'll go down as a ball. All right, so it's one of those kind of games. So the guy throws the bat twice in the same at bat, and then lost his footing right here.
So it's a 1-1 count to Gunnar Henderson.
Do that and then just paint the next one. You see the drag mark down there. He kind of clipped the heel.
Henderson, the fourth Oriole with a 30 home run plus season and a 20 plus stolen base season, and smacks this one up the middle and speared by Lee. Was shading that way, but then Lee lunging and caught that one and robbing Henderson of a third inning single. Let's take a look at this defense. We take it to the bank, brought to you by Old National.
Good play. Ball hit towards the end of the bat, but still looked like he had a chance to get up the middle. The other thing we talk about all the time is the hitters in the challenge of seeing that ball with the shadows in front of the plate. It's also, as a fielder, it plays a factor as well. That ball, you're looking into the bright, and the ball's coming out of the dark shadow, so it can also play a role in fielders' reads on balls in the air, ground balls, everything else. It's a good crowd too for a last Sunday of the year. Perfect weather day, a little bit of everything. Everyone, I think, sensing the impending doom that's coming.
No doubt. And last night was a beautiful night as well. Over 30,000 here last night as the Twins got blown out.
It's too bad it didn't mean a little bit more.
No. And the Royals have lost this weekend, and that was what you were looking at. Okay, the chances weren't very good. Good team coming to town, but had the Twins one out, and the Braves swept the Royals Twins would be in. But getting back to Derek Falvey, something he mentioned too was, the loss Thursday night, just the way it ended. And he said, we as a team, we have so much to clean up, and that was a recent example of how that game ended. And there's strike 3 on the corner. 6
pairs of autographed cleats, and said go find some kids to give these to. An incredible gesture for Byron Buxton. He does this a lot. He will flag me down a lot with baseballs and batting gloves, and this is even better, guys.
And we just saw the first big league home run. Audra from Deshaun Kersey Jr.
Look at the smiles from the boys in the dugout. Everybody remembers what that's like. Smile on his face coming around third. There's a moment you never forget.
A guy that put together an awesome year at AAA St. Paul. Got a chance to come up late. And great reaction inside the dugout. Has just added back to the roster a couple of days ago, and his first major league home run here in game 162.
Well, I guarantee you, like the story Audra was just telling us, he is not giving away those shoes.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Those are going to go in a special place with that bat. Hopefully get that ball back.
1-1 now on Eddie Julian. I was going to ask Audra if, Byron had a 7th pair, a certain 46-year-old.
I thought you were going to say for somebody at home, just for you.
I'm not naming names. 46-year-old would be okay.
Hey, Corey,
yeah,
I accept bribes.
Okay. All right.
Just throwing it out there, if one of you guys want, I'm sure Buxton would be fine with me bringing a pair of those up there.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right, we'll keep in mind. As Julian flies out, 1 away. Austin Martin made his big league debut this season. He joined the Twins in Kansas City after Royce Lewis got hurt on opening day.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk in spring training that he was going to be a contributor to this team at the big league level. Just weren't sure where that was going to be, but opportunity opened up, and he's done a nice job moving around the field, getting his first taste of big league life. Like the way he plays, like the way he goes down the line, like the way he never takes a play off. We'll take this experience of this season with him forever as well.
As he strikes out, and there are 2 down. Second strikeout for Suarez. Let's go back to the home run swing here from Deshaun Kersey Jr.
Oh, there is no better feeling than that right there. That's a lifetime of work coming together, and that's a smile that tells you everything you need to know.
14 at AAA this year. As Brooks Lee laces one to left center field, but Mullins, really good out there, has been for a long time, ends the inning. But congrats to Kersey, his first
Next
sticker.
catch. Yeah,
maybe something like that would be nice. Adley Rutschman leads off as Ober takes a strike. All right, Morty, this is going on here. Look at Audra. So now handing out more shoes, more gear, and look at the smile from that young boy. Awesome.
Audra gets to be like Santa Claus.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
that's pretty cool.
That's really cool, and that's a moment that boy will never forget.
Yep.
That's awesome.
The chills. What a moment. That was the conversation at home. Hey, got these really good tickets. Twins, they just missed the playoffs. Should we go? I don't think there's any regret in coming down here to the ballpark and sitting in those seats and then leaving with a souvenir like that.
Is that Smalls from the Sandlot? Is that him? As Rutschman pulls it foul. I mean, that's uncanny. I mean, that is really, and the Twins do a great job here with the celebrity look-alike game. Yeah, dude, Smalls. Where's Wendy?
Not killing me.
Where's Wendy? Rutschman pops it up as Martin races in, and Martin takes charge with Lee drifting out And Rutschman is out, number 1. As we say goodbye to the 2024 season, we also say goodbye to one of the game's great players, Charlie Blackmon, a former teammate of yours, played every ounce of his career with Colorado, ending his career today.
Yeah, I played with him back before he had that beard, so been going at it a long time. One of the true class acts in the game of baseball, and he will be missed. And got to catch up with him when they were in town when Colorado was here earlier in the year. The guy went about it the right way, prepared himself to be the best he possibly could. And I told Chris that I think we're getting old because the guys that I play with, the rookies, are now retiring. He's one of those guys that was with them right at the beginning of that. And truly remarkable. Unfortunate, couldn't get more trips to the playoffs so more people could see him on the national stage, but people knew who he was.
As Colton Cowser grounds this one to Kyle Farmer, and there are 2 down. I never got your reaction to Joey Votto, also retiring this season.
Yeah, I think maybe a little different feel because he didn't make it back to the big leagues and was a struggle. But yeah, I think he's one of the game's great characters and kind of has options to do whatever he wants for the near future, whether that means just relaxing and enjoying or getting back involved in the game of baseball. He has so much to bring. I think it was incredible to see the evolution from where he was at as a young player to how comfortable he got in front of the camera and how comfortable he got letting his personality show later in his career. And then on top of it,
awesome career.
The career itself was, I wouldn't be surprised to see him voted in Cooperstown in 4 years because his last major league game came last year. So the typical 5-year wait, a little different, but
changeup misses low on Ryan Mountcastle. Votto had one of the best lines I've heard any player utter the last couple of years. He said this last year. He said he made a goal entering 2023 to lead baseball with the fewest timeouts taken at the plate. That was the goal, he said, to lead the pack with the fewest timeouts taken at the plate. I don't know where that's studied and who tracks all that, but I thought that was well said. And Ober on a slider sends Mountcastle to a knee. Ober. Kansas City right now, they would welcome the Tigers. Kansas City would go to Houston. Cleveland, New York a bye. Phillies, Dodgers a bye. Milwaukee will host, but still a lot to sort out in the National League wild card picture. San Diego, we know, will be the top wild card team, but 3 teams in the National League vying for 2 spots: Braves, Mets, and Diamondbacks. 0-2 on Royce.
Right now the Mets are leading. Arizona's losing. That's just a mess. I think it'll be a mess for Major League Baseball to have to play a doubleheader tomorrow and then go directly into playing a playoff series. I think there was some adaptability we've learned this year for the World Series. If the ALCS and the NLCS end 5 games or less, they're going to bump up the start of the World Series. It's unfortunate they don't have the ability to bump back that National League wild card series a day. It's a
As Lewis strikes out, and he is 0 for 2. Well, we've seen the Orioles now for a while, but let's officially take a look at the O's defense. It's brought to you by Ford. Colton Cowser, he could be the AL Rookie of the Year this year. He's been great. Gunnar Henderson, one of the best players in the game. Jordan Westburg, Ryan Mountcastle, and James McCann is behind the plate. Baltimore, a 90-win team. Won over 100 games last year, yet surprisingly was knocked out and swept by the Rangers in the divisional round. And Gunnar Henderson and the O's, they are getting healthy at the right time. And they look to be a tough out because their offense right now is clicking.
Yeah, they got the pieces back at the right time. Healthy, got an ace at the front who can pitch you all the way to the World Series. I think there's a lot of good in this team. It's a well-built ball club, and I think not a team, if you're going to the playoffs, you're looking forward to matching up against. You know it's going to be a test. And I think it's the same for every team that's in the playoffs, but this is a group that went through that loss last year, much like we talked about the failure at the letdown of this late Twin season. This is a team that won over 100 games last year and was knocked out quickly. And I think you remember that. You hope to get back there and have a chance to either redeem yourself or change the way it went. So these guys are, I'm sure, really looking forward to it.
And Camden Yards is an awesome venue. They'll be jumping there starting on Tuesday.
Not necessarily a disaster maybe with the way Texas went about their path to win the World Series last year, of losing in Seattle, flying as far as you can fly in the big leagues, down to Tampa to play, and they were all over the place, and they kind of came together as a group. So you never know if you're the Braves or the Mets and you have to play that doubleheader and a little more adversity on the front of your playoff run, but something like that could galvanize a group as well. So you never know, but it just puts them at a huge disadvantage. No fault of their own.
As Farmer bounces it foul, could the Tigers, with how well they've played here in September, to work that team into the playoff field, could they go on an Arizona-Texas postseason run with how hot they've been?
They're playing with a ton of confidence. I don't see why they couldn't. They have so many pieces. They're athletic. The challenge in the playoffs is hitting enough home runs and hitting more home runs than the opponent. I think that's the hardest thing, is if you're matching up with Baltimore, who's second in baseball in total home runs, you have to be able to do that. It's pitching and home runs and defense in the postseason.
Farmer serves this one to right and playable, and that's caught by O'Hearn. They're out number 2. Back to first, Santana.
But more than home runs is confidence. I think when you feel like you go into every game with the belief that you're going to win, when you get down early in those games, down in the middle part of those games, and there's still that feeling in the dugout like, all right, we might be down 1 or 2, but we're going to find a way to win this game. I think they have that feeling going right now, and it's been going for a while. It's what's led to them getting into the playoffs. I think they have an interesting formula with a lot of openers being used, really relying heavily on their bullpen, which you can do in the playoffs with so many built-in off days. A lot's going to have to go right, but they are a scary team.
0-1 on Margot with Santana at first, as that breaking ball was in the zone, but the call went Manny's way. In the air to right center, and Cedric Mullins puts it away. Gift giving when making friends, memories. What if Audrey knew that was going to be part of her day? Buxton's going to hand you a bunch of gear signed, and we'll make a memory. Good gig.
Yeah, you're wondering coming into today, all right, how's this going to be? Is it going to be a negative feel? How are we going to get through this thing? That's a disappointment, and then all of a sudden you get to go around and make people's days and change their outlook. Pretty special.
Ryan O'Hearn has homered in back-to-back games. He has a career-high 15 home runs this season. Lost his spot with the Royals, his second year now in Baltimore, and he has flourished with this team. And on cue, a leadoff single to begin the 5th. He was kind of in a tough spot, O'Hearn. He was there for a while with Kansas City, but other guys were coming up to the system. Vinny Pasquantino, Nick Pratto, and there was a wave of younger talent coming, and his spot was no longer guaranteed, and left Kansas City and took on a new gig with the Orioles, and it's worked out well for Ryan O'Hearn.
Yeah, it's one thing to get an opportunity. It's another thing to be able to take advantage of it, and he's done just that.
Cedric Mullins had a lengthy at bat. Nice catch by the fan down the way from us.
Didn't spill a drop. Trust us.
Good play just down the way from our booth. But Mullins a lengthy at bat. Reached from the fielder's choice earlier to the right side, and a base hit to right center. O'Hearn will round second base, and he will try for third and make it standing. So the Orioles have 2 on, nobody out here in the 5th inning.
Horn with the hit on the changeup. Cedric Mullins with the hit on the changeup as well. These are the ones as a player, you see that ball go past you, and it looks like it's so close, and you wonder if you should have dove. And reality is you would have missed it by 6 feet, and by the time you hit the ground, the ball would have been one hopping on the outfield grass. I always felt like that ball's to my right. I'd see him and feel like you should have had it, and then you look at the replay and you go, that ball was not even close to me as I thought it was.
So nobody out. Twins infield plays back as Arias swings and misses. Mullins is a threat to run. Arias has it safely in all 6 games. He's coming back off the injured list. A Gold Glove at third base with Baltimore 2 years ago. Oh, and 2.
Have you heard of, I know there's a tradition for people, some people who haven't missed any of the opening days since the team moved to Minnesota. Have you heard anything about the closing tradition of coming to the last game?
No, but I feel like I'm being set up for something.
Nope,
Go ahead.
Nope, nothing at all. It's just a random question that popped into my head.
Pickoff play. Mullins back in. Hang on. What's going on behind me? We got a camera on in here that now Morney has turned so we can hide the evidence. See Mullins, 115 stolen bases last 4 years. 0-2 on Arias.
Nothing, I promise.
Mike, our statistician down the way, he's a little sheepish right now.
Well, you've been to every last game for what?
Yeah, I've been here. Yeah, one booth over. The shallow right. This will be a tough spot. Coming in is Margot, and he'll get there to make the catch. And O'Hearn will stop at third base and hang on as Vasquez tackles that baseball. Near the dugout now, Santana, former catcher. He gets over to help. In the meanwhile, Mullins advances to second base.
Oh, pretty good instincts here by Mullins. Margot ran a long way for this ball. And then once he reads this ball off of Vasquez's chest, just scampers on to second base. That was really good instincts right there to get himself in a score position, a place to tie. You know, these guys are trying to keep themselves playoff ready. That's the type of thing that can win you a game in the playoffs. That'll go as an E9 on the throw.
James McCann, his second at bat. McCann, an interesting plate appearance earlier today. 2 on, 1 out, 1-1. In the air to left field in trouble. Martin will turn. It is gone. And James McCann puts Baltimore on top with a 5th inning 3-run homer. His 8th, and the Twins lead is gone.
You mentioned the interesting plate appearance his first time up. Threw his bat twice right over his own dugout. Ended up striking out the at-bat. He was able to bounce back and get himself a changeup that just kind of ran back into the barrel. And you can tell by the sound, a nice catch on the end by the Orioles fan down there, and really over. Can't believe it. And the pitch that's been so good for him this year.
So the Twins are down 1, and now Gunnar Henderson. Empty cut on a slider. Baltimore has won 6 of its last 9 and is scoring around 7 runs a game in recent wins. As Lee will make the play, and Henderson is out number 2. And that's what makes this Baltimore team dangerous looking ahead to next week, because they're healthy and the offense right now is performing in a way that it was when we saw Baltimore back in April. And this was, I thought, the best team in baseball the first 2 months of the year. And then really from May 31st until about a week ago, they were playing right around 500.
From very good to average to being good again. And I think this is kind of what you were hoping for if you were a Twins fan, is this same sort of thing where you had a good run, you go through a tough stretch, and Kyle Farmer said it before, sometimes you're hot as a team, sometimes you're cold as a team, and they just never got hot again. Yeah, hit by a breaking ball right there. Did that not hit him?
I thought it did hit him, but somehow it didn't.
Does he want to hit?
Wow, yeah, missed him. Caught the glove, the leg of the umpire. Over to Westberg. That's behind the plate. Vasquez over near his own dugout. Vasquez measuring, and it popped out. No catch.
So you want to get there, you want to find the rail, but understand that ball's got some spin, so it's going to be coming back towards the field. You got near the wall. Fighting the shadows. It's kind of like the last, sums up about the last 6 weeks of this season right there. It was there, it was in your grasp, and then
jarred free.
Yep.
2-2 on Westbrook.
So I think talking about the Orioles offense, this is what the Twins were hoping for, to all of a sudden get the guys back and the offense to kind of get back to what they were doing for most of the year.
Oh, and the Twins caught a big break because that was nowhere close to the zone. They'll take it over, strikes out Westbrook. 3-2 Orioles. Twins, let's see if they can answer back with 8-9-1 coming up against Albert Suarez. One ball, one strike on Vasquez. Orioles defensive changes. Jackson Holliday. He's now in at short. Emmanuel Rivera, on the game he had last night, takes over at third. And Vasquez, my goodness. 105 off the bat, and Suarez made it look easy.
It's like he was just catching a throwback from the catcher. Watch this, just finds the glove. That wasn't that easy.
That in my book goes down as that's a big hang with him.
Yep.
Pretty cool moment for Deshaun Kersey Jr. His last at bat, third inning, his first major league home run. Passes this one to first. That's a fair ball played by Mountcastle. And there are two down. Even though Kersey made the out, let's go back to the swings from the third inning. StatCast 3D is brought to you by Google Cloud.
I'll be remembering this one all winter long. He tells the story, hey, you made it up to the big leagues. Anyone back home? Yes, I got my first one. Home run to right field, right down the line, target field, last day of the season. Very cool.
Eddie Julian 0 for 2 with the ball game today. Interesting year for Julian, because what we saw last year, he was such a big part of the Twins' second half September close to the AL Central title, and just unable to match the numbers from his rookie year.
I think maybe it is part of the difference between this team in the second half and this year and last year. Is you had that boost. It was on top of the guys you already had, right? And I think you got that this year from Wallner in the second half. I just didn't. The guys didn't think you'd have that fall off that you had from the main guys in the lineup. I know a couple of them were injured, but you were able to kind of supplement what was already there. He kind of provided a spark, and you're right, it just didn't get off to a great start. It was a battle for him most of the way.
It remains baffling to me that the strikeout rate is even higher for Julian this year, because he doesn't chase. That has not been a big difference with his approach. He's still swinging and missing in the zone, and he's taking strikes. But right on cue, that's what we've seen with Julian, and what leads to his high strikeout rate, missing pitches in the zone. And there's out number 2. Bailey Ober finishes with 5 innings, 3 runs, and his ERA stays under 4. 3.98 ERA for Ober. Pitched very well for Rocco and the guys this season. And you can do the had this guy stayed healthy and had the Twins had this performance all day long. But you know, if Joe Ryan was healthy and the Twins had a playoff series upcoming this week, I like that staff in a short series. I mean, Pablo, Bailey, Ryan, or whatever order it would be. And who knows where the rookies would have factored in. David Festus, some good moments out of him this year. Zebby Matthews started an A-ball this year.
Yeah, in any playoff series to have those 3 guys going, you feel like you like your chances. You get Pablo matching up with an ace. And that's just not just depth starters. That's guys who have had really good years and have good stuff. I think they can beat any lineup on any given day. Yeah, the what-if game will drive you crazy because every team deals with injuries. Every team deals with, you know, some guys having down years, some guys having some good surprising years. I think more than anything for this team, though, just the disappointment of knowing you have the talent to win and not getting to where you want to be, not reaching those goals that you set out in spring training. I think that's probably the hardest part for this group. Where you a very close group, you round the guys in the clubhouse that seem like they're all getting along, everybody pulling for each other, and just kind of all fell apart. And it's tough for the guys for sure going through it.
7th pitch upcoming, Alcala to Mountcastle. And there will be another. We saw Chris Paddock in the dugout too, and you know, what were the Twins going to get from Paddock of his second Tommy John surgery, back in as a starter. An injury-plagued season for Paddock, a guy that works hard. Did not see him as much as anybody envisioned, Chris himself, here in 2024. Full count to Ryan Mountcastle. And struck him out with a slider. Alcala strikes out 2 and a score. Look at the numbers for Suarez here today in the season finale.
Well, he's been good, throwing strikes, working ahead. A couple of home runs, but other than that, not that much hard contact.
Austin Martin flares one to right, and Ryan O'Hearn and make the routine play. And Martin now 1 for 3 and out number 1 here in the inning.
Yeah, very efficient. Also, only 58 pitches in.
Well, Austin Martin, one of his better moments. Saw this doubleheader against the A's. Shane Langoliers thought he had it, and Austin Martin went over the wall to bring it back. Incredible catch.
The athlete just moving around the field. He's going to give it everything he's got.
And 2 now on Brooks Lee. I have a feeling as you see Lee, we're number 72 if he has a different number spring training next year. Same with Austin Martin. He's at 82.
It all depends on if you have a favorite number like you do maybe on your license plate, something along those lines. If you want to get a new number. So it depends your favorite number. If one of the veteran guys, one of the established guys already has it, so maybe that's not an option. Took me 3 years after I was in the big leagues before traded J.C. Romero.
For 33?
And then was able to call about 3 seconds after I heard he got traded to see if I could get number 33. But sometimes it's an option, sometimes it's not, and sometimes you just want to make that number your own. And you think of Johan Santana, 57. Not widely known as a popular number, but it's his. And he made it popular.
2-2, and saw Cole Sands warming up. I remember when Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano, when they debuted, nobody was really sure if they were going to stick with those numbers. If Buxton was going to stick with 25 as Lee to shallow right, that'll get down. And the tying run is on. It's Sano 22 if those were going to stick with those players. And a lot of headlines around those guys. Big time prospects. But jerseys and T-shirts were already being purchased by Twins fans for these two guys that were looking to be keystone players for many, many years. And Byron stuck with 25, and Sano was always 22 around here.
It was something that I didn't quite factor in, that some people might be angry after purchasing a jersey with number 27 on the back. Problem is I already had the 33 tattooed on my arm, so kind of had to make sense. You get bored in instructional league sometimes.
1-1.
The thought never occurred to me that I wouldn't be number 33. I don't know why.
There's a guy that owns 27 right now. Ryan Jeffers.
David Ortiz had it before I got here.
So Jace Tingler, Twins bench coach, he wears number 20 or 33.
Yep.
The Twins had somebody on their roster in 2021. I have no idea who John Gant was. And this was just 3 years ago. John Gant. Huh. Jay Happ, I remember that. He wore 33 in 2021. Martin Perez before that. James Rowson. John Gant. I'm sorry. Stumped.
Look this up real quick online and then pretend like I'm smart.
Tommy Milone wore 33.
Oh, I remember that.
That one. Tommy Mill won. But, yeah. John Gant. Great dude. 3-2. Justin has found Mr. Gant.
It just came to me while we were talking.
That's what it was. Yeah. That'll get foul. John Gant was a pitcher, right-hander. As Danny would say, Dan Gladden, he had two nostrils.
Glove was on his left hand.
Okay.
Just burying ourselves right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
Lee runs, and this is hit hard, and what a catch made. Wow. And a double play turned by the Orioles. Jordan Westburg was covering second base with Lee running, and Lewis hit a rocket up the middle. And Westburg made the play, spun around, the double play, ending the inning, and Lewis not happy.
23rd, and a special moment for Deshaun Kersey Jr. with the first of his career. Hopefully, guys, first of many more to come for him.
Absolutely, Audra. Thank you. Cole Sands, outstanding year. Takes over here in the 7th as Ryan O'Hearn leads off. Twins are down 195 a strike. 71 innings for Sands, whip under 1.
Everything. Just tremendous year.
Well, getting back to our visit with Derek Falvey, not just us, but members of the media before the game today, and the topic came up about Sands and Griffin Jax possibly being stretched back out to start.
Yeah, a little more specific to Jax of not wanting to set a guy up for injury by not giving him a full winter to prepare for a starter's pitch load and everything that goes into being a starting pitcher as opposed to being a guy out of the bullpen. The most important factor there is not setting somebody up to get hurt, and I think part of the reason why this was brought up in spring training and was kind of pushed aside in some ways of this is something we'll deal with in the offseason. That was told it's not off the table. Looking for all ways to help this team improve. And so with 3 rookies in the rotation now and see anticipating Joe Ryan being healthy to start the year next year, what's Paddock's role going to be? What's it all going to kind of look like? And we'll be interested to see if that is a move that is made. Because if you think of a rotation that includes Pablo Lopez, Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan, and Griffin Jax, anything close to what he's been out of the bullpen, that's a way to avoid a lot of losing streaks. That's a way to set yourself up to win a lot of games, but also a way to make your bullpen better as well by having guys that can dominate lineups and maybe pitch a little deeper into games.
A walk to O'Hearn, and now Cedric Mullins as Sands misses inside for ball 1. It's hard to know because there's so much between now and spring training. But in sense of roster stability for this team and lineup stability as Mullins pulls a base hit to right, O'Hearn will stop at second base, and the Orioles have 2 on with nobody out. Rocco was asked about that earlier today, and he said outside of a couple of guys, nobody's spot is really that firm, that he anticipates plenty of competition which he have next spring.
That's a good thing to have, and it's a good thing to be aware of going into the winter. I mean, you never want to feel satisfied. You always have something you want to work on going into the offseason.
Emmanuel Rivera bats for the first time. Rivera was on base 5 times last night, homered twice, drove in 4. Came in defensively in the 5th. Last night, his 2nd career multi-homer game. Shots this one foul. Let's take a look at Rivera last night. Boy, did he put on a show in the 2nd inning off Zebby Matthews. This one crushed deep into the bullpen. Then the 2nd one in the 5th. Now keep an eye on the Baltimore bullpen. Look at Cionel Perez. He caught that home run with his hat. And that's a thing that Cionel Perez has done now for a long time. He has like 15 catches with his hat in the bullpen.
Which is incredible because a lot of times it'll rip the hat out of your hand, or you run the risk of taking one off the thumb if you don't read it properly. But thankfully he did it with his glove hand.
Sands strikes out Rivera, 1 down. Now James McCann, his swing the difference. 5th inning, 3-run homer. Ooh, Sands kind of came off the mound. He's been dealing with a sore knee here.
I don't think they're going to let him keep going on today with this game not having anything to do with playoff implications.
And that's going to be the end for Cole Sands. Great year. Let's see this last pitch here to McCann. It was a strike, but as he landed. So Sands will depart. Twins had nobody up in the bullpen at the time, and Randy Dobnak back with it in charge of audio. Everybody, an amazing crew. We thank all of you. One of the cameras in the truck. You're a huge part of this team. There's Mike Miller. Keep shining, Mike. And we thank all of you for your tremendous work. Ed, thanks for letting me play with that dim button all year. That was fun. But tremendous crew. Just had the best time with all of you, getting to know you in a different way here this season, and could not do this without you. So thank you for your talent. It's been a blast.
That's right. Couldn't do what we do without so many people working hard to help make us look good. It's a new team, and I think I found that out after I left the field and got to come up to the booth. It's a privilege to do what we do. Went from having the best job in the world to talking about the best job in the world. I think it's never lost on me that we get to sit up here and be the voice, the connection to the team, but so many other people take a tremendous amount of pride in that as well, and we're just a small piece of it, so we say thank you.
In the booth here to Mike and Guy, our statisticians throughout the year. Blake, audio in the booth today. Tracy, John Warner. Just an amazing team that we get to work with. Jim, our stage manager. I mean, we've had just such a great time.
And we thank all Twins fans for sticking with us as well. It was a difficult year. We threw a little bump in the road in the middle of it, but thankful we were able to get back on the air and back into your living rooms and wherever you watch us. We are grateful for that. It was a year unlike any other, I think, that we've experienced here in the TV market in Minnesota, and looking forward to a normal winter and getting back at it next year. Tremendous job this year, my friend. It was
awesome, Morning.
A pleasure working with you, because not easy to step into that seat and do what you did, but always appreciated your work all year long. So
same here, buddy. Had a great time. You and everybody. Audra, Katie, Anthony, Tim, Perk, and Denard, and Roy, and Hawk, Marty Gellner. I mean, everybody, just an amazing group of people to work with every day. And it really has been fun. Yeah, disappointing finish, to say the least, but I'll remember this year fondly, just because of the challenge, the opportunity, and connecting with people in a way that I would see, encounter, but now getting a chance to work with them. It's been awesome, and what a privilege to be in this booth, so appropriately named after the great Dick Bramer. It's been a great ride.
Well, you said it, even Perk.
Even Perk. Gimpy knee and all. It's been fun.
Pickleball champion of the Midwest. There you go.
There he is. James McCann facing Scott Blewett. 2 on, 1 out. Twins down 1.
Oh.
Scott picked up his first major league win in that wild Friday night game at Fenway Park. That one went 12. And that one dropped by Vasquez. The last two looked to be in the zone, but
kind of missed the spot. But see there's a reflection. It's really bright back there. Reflection off the, I believe it's off the new building, left field. See it. Not your typical shadows in there. It's much brighter than what it used to be before that big building went up there. Right back in your eyes. It's really mostly this time of year too. Noticed it in the postseason last year. It was an issue. Interesting to see if anything's going to be done with that.
Still 2-2 on James McCann. Jackson Holiday had a good game last night. He's on deck. And there's out number 2. Yeah, we thank our producer, director, Rick Palermo, Jordan Austin, John Stroh, Jason Clemens, Craig Rothberg, Matt Gangle. Matt Loxton, of course, going around here as Young Matt. Just don't call Matt Gangle Young Matt. Trouble if that happens.
Good crowd. His final Sunday of the year, 26,041. Always appreciative of the fans here. As a player, and now you get to interact with them a little more up in the booth. Came out, supported this team. Very lucky I got to play in front of these fans and now get to be a part of this from where I'm at. Without them, none of this matters. So,
well said. Well said. Smalls
Smalls is there.
He's killing that dessert. Yeah, dig in, buddy. 2-1 on Jackson Holiday, only 20 years old. And the Orioles clinched a playoff spot on Tuesday in New York, celebrated in the clubhouse with beer and champagne. Well, Jackson, only 20, he had a separate stash of non-alcoholic beverages in the corner at Yankee Stadium. And that's ball 4. So Holiday, who was on base 5 times last night, reaches for the first time today, and the bases are loaded for Jordan Westburg.
And you know, Blue would love to come in and finish this thing off after Sands left with an injury and be able to strand those couple of runners that he inherited.
Westburg is 0 for 3 today.
He struck out looking on 2 pitches. Call it borderline.
Really? Borderline. Hometown call right there. Twins got a big break, but hey. Played out. And now Vasquez will call time and head out and chat here with Blewett.
Yeah, I think sometimes you come in and you feel like you're rushed to warm up. You warm up on the mound in front of the entire stadium. You feel like everybody's waiting for you. It's a good move by Vasquez there to just go out and slow him down a little bit. Give him a little breather. Try and get him to reset. I mean, it's like the sun's in a mirror just going right back at him. Just
bases loaded, 2 down. Twins down 1. On the corner for strike 1. And this is line to left center and will score 2. O'Hearn and Mullins are in. Holiday to third, and the Orioles open up a 3-run lead here in the 7th.
well, you feel for Cole Sands after the year he had, that he leaves with injury, and last 2 base runners end up coming around to score on his line. That'll end up going on his. And the ERA was slightly over 3 before that outing. We'll jump just a little bit higher, but you just hope that it's not something that lingers into the winter. Hopefully it's just something that's resolved rather quickly. We knew what it was. They had MRI taken of it. So a little something showed up. And a little hamstring back of the knee. Rocco categorized it as whatever the lowest grade is, it's lower than that. So, you know, at this point of the season, they wouldn't have pitched him if they didn't think it was very minor and that he was going to be able to get through it. Unfortunately, he had to come off the mound with an injury, but doesn't take away from the year he had and what he did for that bullpen.
Now 2-0 on the switch hitting DH, Adley Rutschman. All-star, former #1 overall pick in 2019. Hit hard up the middle, and it'll deflect to Lee. He'll take it to the bag, and that forces out Westburg. But the Orioles add a couple of runs and now lead 5-2 as we stretch here. As we said some goodbyes, we also want to recognize that man right there, the great Kyle Hammer, longtime Twins Radio Network producer engineer, in that seat for the final time today. Kyle, a valuable Member of our team, had the privilege to work with Kyle for 12 amazing years, and job well done, Mr. Hammer. Enjoy your time with Beth and your 5 beautiful boys. The great Kyle Hammer.
We'll miss our conversations around the ballpark, around the ball club, but spend a little more time with the family. A tough life for a lot of people in this game. Spending a lot of time on the road. It takes its toll, and you get more time at home, and we'll miss him around here, that's for sure.
Carlos Santana. A swinging strike as we see Sir Anthony Dominguez pitching for Baltimore. The Orioles addressing a few things at the trade deadline, including their bullpen. And Dominguez, along with Gregory Soto, in separate trades, came to the Orioles from the Phillies.
This is going to be a very, very important part of their team trying to make a run through the playoffs. A little rough outing. First game of the series here late. 22 innings. He's given up 6 home runs for the Orioles. It's a part of their game that if you're looking at can they make a run, these guys are going to have to start rolling. And you never know once that calendar flips to October how guys are going to react and what it's going to look like in the postseason. A little confidence goes a long way.
As Santana takes outside, there's a start, a leadoff walk. Santana's been out now 3 times today, a homer, 2 walks. Some changes here for the Orioles defensively. Kowser's now in center. Austin Slater in left. Heston Kjerstad takes over in right. And here's Kyle Farmer. He's 0 for 2 today. He's flied out twice. To your point about the Orioles bullpen, something else, not just Dominguez, the home run rate stands out, but there are a few key guys late who do have a rather high walk rate. And that's something that has popped up here the last month or so with the Orioles, even with new bodies. So keep an eye on that, too, with this Baltimore pen. Starting staff looks solid. Love the lineup now that they're healthy. And some names that have postseason experience in that pen. No longer Craig Kimbrell, by the way. Remember when the Twins saw the Orioles back in April. When Kimbrell was on this team, that's no longer the case. He was let go. So between Sir Anthony Dominguez or Gregory Soto, Yennier Cano, Keegan Aiken, a good lefty. But that walk rate for a few guys is on the higher side.
Yeah, that really is a way to pitch yourself into trouble. Of course, in the regular season, but also in the postseason, where every moment is magnified, every opportunity that presents itself. Teams love those free ones, and that's going to be a challenge, something they need to figure out. And I'm really looking forward to watching the playoffs, even though the Twins aren't going to be in it. To how do these young teams do? How do these somewhat surprising teams that earned their way in, what does it look like in October?
And Margot with a base hit to right center. Santana will round second base, and he will make third. So that'll bring up the tying run in the 7th inning.
And I don't feel like we've seen much of that over the last few weeks with this struggling offense of getting a guy on, hitting the ball the other gap, and a little first to third, getting some traffic, some activity on the base pass. Nice swing by Margot here. Just hasn't been as much pressure on the other team, and I think you look back at the injuries and you can blame certain parts of the game, but it has been a shocking turn of events with how good this offense was and what you thought you had. Just weren't able to finish all the way down the stretch, but
Alameda get them out here. Christian Vasquez coming up. Speaking of home runs, another fun moment, including Christian Vasquez was against Houston, his former team, and Vasquez on Dan Gladden's birthday hit a walk-off home run Sunday, July 7th. His 3rd career walk-off, and the Twins beat the Astros. And Vasquez with a very quiet start to his season at the plate. Not much was happening then. Got hot in July. Was good in July. Good in August. Cooled down in September. But that moment certainly a highlight for Vasquez on the field this summer.
Yeah, even though he didn't finish the way he wanted, we still need to remember there were a lot of good moments. And Vasquez providing one of those. Wouldn't mind seeing another one here. Not on that pitch.
Well, Vasquez behind the plate today for Rocco Baldelli, and it really never changed this year in terms of how Rocco used the catchers. I mean, it was pretty much right down the middle all season long in terms of starts. Ryan Jeffers, 81 starts. And guess what? Christian Vasquez today, his 81st start.
It's amazing, but they've been healthy. It's hard to argue with the way it was handled. I mean, both guys have been available pretty much every day. We saw Jeffers DH a little bit more in the first half. Enviable catching depth that most teams would like to have.
15 pitches for Dominguez, and Brandon Hyde will make a move as Deshaun Kersey Jr. is coming up. Here was going to bat. He will be lifted, and the Twins will take one rookie out and bring in another rookie. This will be right-handed batting Michael Hellman, batting in place of Kersey as the Orioles make a change and bring in veteran lefty, former Tiger and Philly, and now Oriole Gregory Soto.
Power arm can get himself in trouble with the walks from time to time, and the plus stuff coming out of that pen.
Michael Hellman made his debut this season at 271, 14 homers, 18 doubles in 72 games for the Saints. Was injured a couple of times as well. And now it's 0-2. Hellman recalled yesterday, took the roster spot of Jose Miranda, whose season ended over the weekend with a bad back. This one to right, over near the line. That's caught by Kierstad of the Orioles, 8th inning, and the Twins bring in a new pitcher, Randy Dobnak, who had his contract selected today after Diego Castillo was designated for assignment. He's back for the 5th time this season.
A really interesting journey for Dobnak over the last few years. Burst onto the scene
Michael Hellman, after batting for Deshaun Kersey Jr., stays in at center. So 2-0 on Cowser. He's 0 for 3 today. Dobnak, 29. And re-signed a 5-year contract with the Twins in 2021 that runs through 2025 with team options for 26, 27, and 28. Get foul. Randy, just some injuries the last few years. We haven't seen him very much. He dealt with the pulley issues on his finger, his right pitching hand. Never had surgery, but enough to just keep him from competing for a couple of years.
It was such a feel-good story when he came up, and the Twins locked him up. Cost certainty. Figured he had a piece of the rotation who's going to be able to eat some innings for you.
Cowser grounds it to Santana.
Well, it looks like Louis Rise is going to win his 3rd straight batting title. First player in Major League history to do it for 3 different teams.
Incredible.
Ohtani, last I looked, was 0 for 3, so that kind of locked it up for Louis.
He's slumping, huh?
Didn't quite get to 60-60.
So a rise with the Twins, Marlins, and now Padres. And that'll keep Ohtani from the Triple Crown. Grounded to third, a chance for Royce. Makes the play on Mountcastle.
Looks like Aaron Judge will finish the year with a slugging percentage over 700. First player since Barry Bonds in 04 to do that. It's a lot of special things in a year where offenses continued to decline. It's even harder to hit than it ever was. Pitching is dominant. Guys going to the bullpen earlier, not getting as many looks at that pitcher a third time. So many factors playing into it. There's still guys that have done things that are absolutely remarkable. You look at Ohtani's numbers for the year. Judge, you look at Bobby Witt Jr., Jose Ramirez in Cleveland. I mean, just so many guys.
So Jacob Webb warming up for the Orioles. And thrilled that for the first time we'll see Shohei Ohtani play playoff baseball. Kierstead unloads to center field, hit a ton, sending Hellman back to the wall. He'll jump up, and that is gone. Fourth home run for Heston Kierstead in his 39th game. It's now 6 unanswered runs for the Orioles, and the lead is 4.
It looked like he had maybe a chance at trying to bring this thing back. It was hit so high, but right as he went to jump, the wall crept up on him and wasn't able to get a full leap at it. He hit it hard enough. The question was, did he hit it too high? Watch right before he goes to jump. There it is. It's kind of your dream as an outfielder, is having a play like this.
You know, Kierstead, and this is something you can relate to, Morny. Sadly, his season has been interrupted a couple of times. He got hit by a pitch on his helmet when the Orioles played the Yankees earlier in the year. Was on the concussion IL. He's been active and then back on the IL because of it. It's not gone easy for Kierstead in that regard physically all year.
And hopefully he's able to put that past him in this offseason.
As Austin Slater pops it up to right, and Margot makes the play to end the inning. 6-2 Orioles.
Sent to Minnesota Twins LLC.
Well done. The final time. Rapid fire. 8-second legal disclaimer.
Didn't quite get the record, though.
What is the record?
Less than 8. There's a pitch clock on broadcasters.
Right, on YouTube. Jacob Webb on the pitch.
And then proceeded to talk through the next pitch anyway.
That's fine. Eddie Julian lost this one to right, and Kierstead. 1 out. It feels like, and you're talking about how the game has changed and how for pitchers especially, the offseason doesn't really happen. That it wasn't so long ago. I've heard Perk talk about this, that he would start throwing again until maybe Christmas, the first of the year. But now, you know, pitchers are actively, if not throwing or doing some band work. For position players, what does the offseason look like now in terms of healing, rest, recovery, but then also not just sitting around, you know, eating chips on the couch?
That's a small part of it, but I think you wonder if that's part of what's led to the arm injuries. You know, guys, it allows them to work on different pitches, you know, altering mechanics, little different grips, trying to change pitch shapes or whatever they want to come back to the next year in spring training with. But you wonder if that's played into some of the injuries that we've had as well, of guys just non-stop throwing and not really giving their arm time to completely recover. And it's hard to argue with the velocity we're seeing and the pitches we're seeing and how dominant guys are. But I think on the position player side of it, I didn't start swinging until after New Year's. I wanted to, when I got back into the cage, just like be to that point where I could not wait, because there was nothing I loved to do more than hit. As McCann takes a tough one here. So it was almost like I had to force myself, because I knew how much I swung during the year as well. I think it's different for some guys also who are making swing changes. If you go into the offseason and say, okay, I want to make some adjustments to my swing, and whether it's the path or leg kick, whatever, timing, tempo, those types of things. So maybe you start swinging a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get stronger, and then I wanted to pick that bat up and feel strong again, feel good once I started hitting. So I think it's different for everybody, and I think it evolves throughout your career. You go through times where you're injured heading into the offseason, and you spend the first 4 to 6 weeks just rehabbing whatever you had to finish the season, or if you had a surgery heading into the winter. So there's different ways that it all kind of goes, but you wonder if some guys might be better off just taking an extra week. You think you're ready to go, then give it one more week and give yourself that much more time to reset physically, but also reset mentally. I think that's the challenge of, the guy on your team, that guys around the league are working out right now. You feel like you kind of have to do it. And I think there is something to be said for having a little bit of time off, and whether it's traveling, whether it's sitting on a beach somewhere, whether it's sitting in a deer stand for some guys, you just have to do it. And I think you have to be willing to take that time and understand that a week now could save you a month later. And I think that's part of it. But you don't want to show up to spring training and feel like you're not prepared. And I think in the years you make the postseason, that winter's shorter, right? And then the years when you don't make the postseason, you have all this time to rest if you feel like you need to.
As Lee strikes out, lengthy at bat, 2 down. We just saw Max Kepler on the monitor a moment ago, and Max is 31 years old, and he is a free agent once this season ends, and it seems very likely that Kepler's time as a Twin is over. And if that's the case, just want to recognize Max, and as Lewis pops it up, darn it, inning is over. I was hoping that would play out a bit longer. We're going to come back and talk more about Kepler in a moment. A core muscle injury here late in the year, but Kepler more than 1,000 games in the big leagues, all with the Twins. Part of that famed 2009 international signing class with Jorge Polanco and Miguel Sano. That all happened thanks in large part to the late great Mike Ratcliffe. He was key in all those guys come together at the same time. And likely, Morty, this is the last we'll see of Max as a Twin.
It was a great run, a guy who, tremendous athlete. I think we've talked about this before. Every right fielder that plays in this ballpark moving forward will be measured against what he was able to do, how he played that wall, how he played that small amount of foul territory. Just such a big part of this team, this franchise, people buying jerseys, showing up specifically just to watch him play, what he was able to do on the baseball field.
Hard hit, and Kyle Farmer will throw out Rivera. Deshaun Kersey Jr., his first big league home run today, final game of the year. Max Kepler's first big league hit came final day of the year in 2015. On October 4th, Twins were here against Kansas City. It was Torrey Hunter's last day as a Twin, last day of his career as well. But Kepler's first big league hit, I think it happened late, like 8th or 9th inning, and it was the final game of the year.
Yeah, very interesting case going into free agency of interest level, where a good fit is for him.
And the Twins have such a surplus right now, as McCann sends it to right and Margot makes the play for out number 2 of left-handed hitting outfielders, both at the big league level and not too far away in the minor league level either. Morning, thinking about Emmanuel Rodriguez, thinking about Walker Jenkins. There's more left-handed hitting outfielders still coming. Deshaun Kersey Jr. as well.
Yes, there's more outfielders than there is spots, and at this point in Max's career, the game constantly going younger, going younger, going younger. But still, there is need for veterans to be around. There still is the lessons that they can help you learn and the value they bring, having been through almost every situation that you could possibly go through as a big leaguer. And sometimes a fresh start is good for a player as well. You get a little new life going somewhere else and playing a place and feel like you never want to leave or you're never going to leave, and sometimes that option's not there for you. So we'll see what the future holds for Max, but what a career he had as a Twin. Big part of a lot of good things that happened here.
Yeah, well said. Some great moments. As Holiday laces a base hit to left center. And as Trevor Plouffe would say too, in terms of Max Kepler, the Twins also losing some eye candy. That's what Plouffe would say. So.
Okay. Not a bad pitch, not a real good swing right there. Not a good swing. That was a good swing there. Just going with a pitch, a little 2-strike. Shoot it the other way. Stand next to the guy and say, "You realize you're twice as old as I am?"
That's true. You got 20 years old, running at first, and you've got 38 right there, defending. Royce Lewis at 25. He's the 34-year-old Kyle Farmer. Forcing we wrap up the 2024 season. Smalls is still here on this beautiful day. Kids can run the bases after the game. Always fun to see. 6-2 Orioles. New pitcher for Baltimore is righty Colin Selby. With the Royals and the Orioles this year, Santana to right, but Kierstad is there. And for the first time, Santana retired, 1 out.
Pretty typical stat line for Santana from a lot of games he's had throughout his career. Home run, a couple of walks, another hard hit ball.
The Twins every month entering September either had a winning record in each calendar month or at least played 500. But with the loss here today, the Twins will finish the month of September with a 9-18 record. 1-1.
It's just mind-boggling just to think of where this team was at. But that's the reality.
And fix it. That's the challenge that Derek Falvey put on himself, as we mentioned earlier today. That's a pretty candid conversation he had with members of the media. Two balls and a strike on Kyle Farmer. To third, and Rivera makes the play, and the Twins are down to their final out. Twins will open next season in St. Louis and finish the year in Philly. Ball 1 to Manuel Margot. Spring training, of course, beautiful. Fort Myers, and wishing all of our friends down in Southwest Florida the best. Again, horrible images from Hurricane Helene. The same for Baltimore. They train at nearby Sarasota. Two down. Twins Live postgame is coming up momentarily, as the Twins are down to their final strike. One and two on Manuel Margot. And a base hit to left. 2-out rally. Let's go.
One of his hardest hit balls of the year. So he crushed that one. Not ready to go home yet. Well, knuckle curve. Good swing.
Christian Vasquez 0 for 3 today. Looking forward to getting back together. A beautiful Target Field in 2025. A very important offseason approaching. Fargo runs the 1-2, and Vasquez with a piece of it. And the season is over. 6-2 Baltimore with the win. The Twins finished the year 82-80. What looked to be a promising playoff-bound year disappeared in mid-August, and the Twins finished the year dejected, down, deservedly so, 82-80. And that'll do it for Twins baseball here in 2024.
Yeah, a year that you mentioned it looked so promising. Set out of spring training with high expectations, looking to take that next step. Unfortunately, the step ended up being in the wrong direction, and a lot of questions to be answered in the next few weeks heading into this offseason. A lot of talent on this roster, a lot of things you could build around, a lot of things that you can take away from this year as positives as well. But when you set out the goal